Welcome to Running Your Best Life, the podcast where we go beyond the miles and into what really makes life worth running for. I'm your host, Victor Vizcaino, and I'm joined by my amazing co host, Adele Benafons. Together, we'll help you discover how running can be a vehicle for transformation physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Hey everybody, it's Adele. I'm a high performance coach and lifelong runner. Here on Running Your Best Life, we bring you the best principles, practices, and wisdom to not only elevate your running, but to help you create a life that feels as fulfilling as when you cross that dream finish line.
Whether you're training for a 5K, chasing a marathon PR, or simply looking to make running a tool for personal growth, this podcast is for you. Our goal is to help you integrate your running journey with the habits, mindset, and balance you need to thrive.
So, in each episode, we'll share some real life insights and our experiences and some expert advice, inspiring stories that will empower you to run strong, live intentionally, and embrace a holistic approach to running in your life.
So let's lace up those shoes and join us as we explore how truly run your best life.
All right, here we go.
All right. So what we're going to do today is we've composted some questions and answers. Some of them we're going to read, and then we're going to discuss how this whole podcast is going to be what you're going to be looking forward in our podcast. Yeah. So this is what this podcast is about and why you should tune in. The first question is, what inspired us to start this podcast? Adele and I have always been avid podcast listeners, finding immense value in the wisdom shared by experts. Over time, we realized how much we have learned from curating wisdom shared by experts and also by the materials that are applying the theories and sharing insights with others. This year, both of us were invited as guests on several podcasts. After reflecting on these experiences, we thought, why not create a space where we can keep having these amazing conversations, but make them accessible to others?
And really, as passionate runners and coaches, we're driven by a shared mission. We helping people achieve transformation through running and exercise, and that's our lifestyle as well. Our podcast is the perfect platform to combine meaningful conversations with very, very, very insightful and actionable things that we've learned on our own. We're offering our listeners the opportunity to benefit from some of the same lessons that we've profoundly had affect our lives and our running lives as well.
Yeah, so what topics can you expect from us in the future or in future episodes? Our episodes will focus on themes related to running, health, wellness, and personal growth. We'll explore how these elements contribute to transformation in a positive and sustainable way, from training tips to mental resilience and everything in between. Our discussions will be tailored to inspire and educate.
And truthfully, to follow up a little bit on that point, over the years, Victor and I have so many different experiences in our running that we picked up a lot of our wisdom, not only because we're a little bit older than maybe some of you that might tune in, but from our experiences. And those things, you cannot read these things in a book from those experiences. So that's one of the biggest reasons we'd like to share a lot of our life stories and our running stories with you.
Absolutely. And every once in a while, I'll watch podcasts that may not even have to do anything with running,
Mm,
but I see that we can apply those things. I
right.
just listened to one about dopamine management, and I thought about it, and Adele and I discussed it and how that applies. So, one of our next podcast. I don't know if it's going to be the next one, but that's a good example of how we can take some of these things that we're learning and then relate them to running and give you the value of those parallels and how it we can apply it as runners.
I think one of the biggest things too, Victor, and I've just read something today when we were getting ready to do our get together and do our recording. I picked up a magazine just because I was eating lunch and I had a few minutes, and I said, let me find something that's in the community. And I was reading a little bit of something, and in the very back of the magazine was an article by a local doctor and talking about the end of the holidays and moving into, starting fresh in a new year, or starting fresh after a really difficult holiday experience, or getting the holiday blues. And they would list, this particular doctor was listing different things about nutrition and sunlight and the cortisol effect and the dopamine effect and all those different things. And I'm like, tear that page out of the magazine, use that when we talk again. But it's really funny how the last place you might seem to find the information that can apply to something you're doing with your life. I mean, this was a magazine about my community. It just so happened this was something that this particular local doctor wrote on to help people get through the holidays, and it applies to things that you and I have both done and both experienced, not only in our regular lives and becoming healthy, but also in our running lives, how we create that dopamine effect, that joyful effect, all these other crazy things. We're going to use that one day too.
Yeah, absolutely. And just everyday life, everyday experiences, because that's what I want to share a lot of how is it that we are still continuing to incorporate running when as we get older, because sometimes it seems harder, but more necessary. So even today, Adele, you were sharing how you squeezed 6 miles today.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that and how do you make it happen with such a tight schedule and still be able to do that?
Well, the funny part is, and I'll share this with our listeners, I had some surgery on my leg last week for different reasons. So I'm actually doing more walking if I'm on the street right now, just because I can't take the impact on the upper part of my leg right now from the running impact that we usually have, which I've shared this with Victor. So I was walking outside today, but I've been getting my runs in on the elliptical where I can actually get that gliding motion and get that a little bit faster adrenaline rush that I like when I'm in the running motion. So today was really funny because I'm in South Louisiana. Y'all, I have a Pensacola, Florida sweatshirt on, right? But I'm in South Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans, and it's 29 degrees outside early in the morning. So I waited to go for a walk till about 11:30 today when it was about 46 degrees, a little cloudy, still a good cold for us down here. So I went out walking and I'm walking and all kinds of things were going on. And I was walking with my significant other, Larry, for a few of the miles. And then I just started just going. So on my little pacer, I keep track of how quickly I start to walk the miles compared to how I used to run. And that was the beauty of going in the middle of the day because the things I transferred to do early in the morning, I had a better mental ability. Usually I have a better focus after a run, but this morning I said, well, I'm going to do it later. So I transferred that focus on a few tasks and a few things I wanted to create, and then got a run. And I felt so good when I came in. So it's a matter of adjusting and looking at what I'm capable of doing. And I actually stayed out a little bit longer and got those that last mile in to hit the 6 miles in the middle of the day. It was awesome. Awesome. And we're going to get rain here later. So tomorrow I know I'll be on the elliptical again. Because of the leg surgery, I'm not swimming yet. So I'm really missing that kind of in between the running and the walking right now. But I'll get back to that soon.
Yeah. Now, do you listen to music, Adele, when you're doing your runs?
I'm either listening to some really good music, like a little mix that I have, or I'll listen to some podcast that
Oh,
I'd like to spend the time doing, kind of like you do. A lot of times when you have a longer run, and if I'm going to be out more than an hour, I can usually get some of those podcasts in, or if I'm on the elliptical for an hour and a half, I can listen to really some of those things. I put the
yeah.
headphones on and I can
I
block everybody.
I love some of those podcasts. You know what a great podcast is? Running Your Best Life.
Yes, I think that's the best podcast because it's us.
Okay,
And
so how one of the questions here is how often will we release a new content?
Mhm.
And we're going to try to do at least once a week. If we start getting some expert guests, then it'll be more often. And yeah, but I think I have a goal of releasing at least one episode a week.
I think that's a great idea because even if we have some breaks where one or the other of us is traveling, and this is really the benefit of our listeners, or have some commitments. I have a race that I'm planning to do in the next couple of weeks, so I'm actually don't want to give up even the walking compared to the running right now. Even if I have to walk, which I really love walking. Y'all know that I've said that before. It's a quarter marathon at the Louisiana Marathon Weekend. It's in 2 weeks, and I probably will only be able to do the quarter marathon on Saturday and not the half marathon as well, which I usually do pretty much every year since they've had it, just because of the surgical procedure on my leg. I can't overtax it right now. And I think that's the point. If we can talk about that prior and then talk about it after, those are going to be some really key opportunities for information, especially knowing that I'm modifying right now on what I usually try to achieve there. So those might be some opportunities where we give you some insight the week before and the week after. If y'all don't mind, I'd love to share that experience with you as we get a little bit closer to it.
Awesome. And here's the next question that we've
Okay.
composite here is who are our target listeners? Our primary audience includes individuals over 40 seeking personal growth and transformation through running or exercise. However, the value of our content isn't limited to this group. Anyone looking to improve their life through movement, mindset, and motivation will benefit.
And I think that's key. And it's not just men or women, old, young, big, small, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter really what your reason is as much as it is that you're willing to take that first step. And I think that's what Victor and I are really hoping to encourage a lot of people to do. Find it within yourself, know your why, because there's always going to be a reason why you lace up that shoe and lace up the second shoe and walk out your door. So that's what we're looking for. I want to give you some good experience and some good insight.
Absolutely. Now, what unique perspectives do we bring to the table?
This is a pretty good question for both of us, and I am going to let Victor go first if you don't mind.
Yeah. So my story is one of radical change. Before 38, I didn't live a healthy lifestyle and often felt like I was putting my dreams on hold.
Mhm.
Everything shifted when I took one of the changes of marathon training, something I initially didn't enjoy but grew to love. This journey shaped me into a coach and advocate of transformation through running. Adele brings a dynamic and enthusiastic approach to the table as a coach and seasoned runner. You want to tell us a little bit of what you bring, Adele?
Yeah, I'll share that with you. I wanted Victor to share a little bit first because he's younger than me, y'all. He's younger than me by.
A little bit, not too much.
But anyway, in one of our first episodes, I know I mentioned that I was having my birthday. I was going to be 67, which I was a month ago. And one of the reasons I started running back in my high school years, which I'm out of high school almost 50 years now. One of the reasons I started running is because I was a competitive tennis player and I just fell in love with the running, couple miles here and there, then built up to 3 to 5. But what it did for me because of my competitive involvement with tennis is very rarely will you find a runner who's a competitive tennis player lose because they lose strength, endurance, or they get very weak, or they get fatigued, exhausted. Runners don't let that happen to them when they're a tennis player as well. So the beauty of that is the more I realized that, the more I wanted to run. But the main reason that I got into more of the distance running, started doing the 5Ks in my early 20s. I was running 5 and 10Ks through my years at LSU. I graduated LSU in May of 79, Went to do 2 years on my master's at Oklahoma State. It was beautiful running in a different area of the country. And then as I moved into my master's program, as well as really being able to see some different areas, the running is this thing that stayed consistent all those years. I was still playing a lot of competitive tennis just till really a couple of years ago. But the beauty of the running is I could do it alone. I could do it at any time that worked for me, which a lot of times early in the morning, and I still do that. Um, but because of a diagnosis with cancer at the age of 30 that I battled for 10 years to the age of 40, running has been the key salvation in my life. And I think the beauty of that is it allowed me to maintain the highest level of health that I could maintain going through that because it was mostly surgeries. I didn't do treatment. So that is what the key is to share because I was already into my 30s, into my 40s, now my 60s. So the beauty of the running in my life has it has not stopped. Have I modified it? Yes. Have I stopped the hardcore competitive running? Yes. I don't have to anymore. Been there, done that. And the beauty of being in this position now is the wisdom of knowing and the grace that I give myself. If I can still go out on the street, and today was a 6 mile, very brisk walk because of a situation last week with surgery on that leg, I'm still doing it. And my perspective is I do it because I still can. That's it.
So Adele, if somebody is in the age of 60 and they haven't had a lot of history of running or walking, what suggestions would you give them to start, or what are some of your suggestions?
I think if you're a little bit older runner starting out, I know two things you want to consider is what's your fitness level? I mean, are you overweight? Are you underweight? Do you have any chronic kind of issues? Because once you start an exercise program, even even if it's a walking program in your neighborhood, which is incredibly wonderful to do, but your intention is to maybe start running, maybe do a 5K, maybe enjoy a community run with your children at the church or school and your grandchildren. The key is you have a reason. Get a checkup with your doctor to make sure that if you're any kind of consistent medications or prescriptions, if you've had any kind of medical issues at all, you want to make sure that you're cleared, that your heart's good, your bones, your joints, and everything's good, knees and hips. Get out and walk first. Make sure that you can stay upright on your feet for a length of time, and then build in gradually the running. That would be key, is to make sure that physically, internally, externally, you can do it. The second thing would be make sure that you stay within your capabilities right away. Start slow, start gradual. Don't say, I'm going out today and I'm running 12 miles. Victor and I, it took us a while to build up to that, didn't it? I mean, really.
Yes, absolutely,
So, and
absolutely.
you're not going to run that first time out. You really want to just walk down the sidewalk, walk around the block, see how your heart feels, see how your legs feel, see how your knees feel. Those are the two first key points. And I think Victor and I addressed this when we were talking about holidays. Make sure you have good, cushioned, well fit running shoes. That's
Yes,
going to be important so that you don't get any blisters, you don't get any issues from a pronation or supination or just not having good cushion. You want to get a good pair of running shoes. Invest in them the first time. Make sure you're comfortable in them, and use your modification to learn how to run, which is where we can come in on our coaching programs, which we'll address a little bit later. But that's the biggest thing to start with first.
yes, and I'm going to go further and suggest
Mhm.
a specialty store to get
Yeah.
those well fitted. I used to work for Fleet Feet, but there
Hmm.
are other also specialty stores where they can actually do good analysis of your walk, an analysis of they scan your feet
Right.
and get you the proper shoes for yourself, because
Mhm.
all of our feet are different.
All our feet are different and all of our bodies are different. And your body weight transfers every time you plant your foot. And I think Victor and I can share this with you. When you are running, your body weight transfers a lot differently than when you're walking. because your impact is you're thrusting forward. All that body weight is coming down on that front foot, knee, leg, hip. So you really do want to have the cushion underneath it. Go ahead and invest the first time, get that right fit. And if you have to change it later on because you increase your speed or you increase your mileage or you're trying to do something a little bit differently than when you first started out, you'll learn to adjust to get the correct shoe for what your goal is at that point in time. But start with a good, cushioned, well fit, wide toe base, good arch support shoe.
Yes. It's a good advice. And you got to take care of your feet because they're going to take care of the rest of your body.
Yes.
Now, our next question is, how can listeners interact with us? We welcome engagement through various channels. Listeners can visit my website, eymcoaching.com, or they can email us directly or send a message on social media. All contact details will be included in the show notes of each episode.
Yeah. And I do not have a landing page just yet. I'm trying to create it. So when Victor puts my information in there, you'll have how to contact me on Facebook as well as a direct message and an email address. So please don't hesitate. I try to respond as quickly as I can within a 24 to 48-hour period, depending on our schedules. But definitely we will get back with you. If you leave us a message or suggestions, we'd love to respond to you.
Absolutely. Now, our next question is, will we feature guest speakers? Absolutely. We plan to bring on inspiring and knowledgeable guest speakers who can motivate, educate, and just share their unique expertise with our audience.
And I have some really good ideas that Victor and I are starting to discuss. People we can contact, some that might be very specific to male runners and some male issues, as well as the female issues. Perhaps new runners, perhaps older runners. How to modify, how to really be happy and successful in what you do. Maybe going into your senior years. Also, some people that might have some good scientific and medical based information to use for injuries, hydration, wellness profiles, those kind of things. So we're hoping to incorporate a lot of good things for everybody so that y'all can make some really good choices in what you'd like to do with your running life and the transformation it can bring to everything else in life.
Yes. Now, our next question is, how can you support our podcast growth? Supporting is simple. Tune in regularly, share our podcast with friends, and provide some feedback. Your encouragement will help us reach more people and continue creating meaningful content.
Y'all, please just let us know what you think of how we're presenting the information to you. Any suggestions? We love the feedback, love the suggestions. And one of the biggest things is that we like knowing that we've reached someone. Maybe we've had an effect on what you've done with your fitness and your health. If we've encouraged you to get out, lace up those shoes, and go for a walk in the neighborhood with your grandchildren or your children, just to have some fun, let us know. We love those kind of stories, and we love to share them with you.
Absolutely. And anything that you want us to bring up, we're more than welcome. If you want to be in our podcast, also reach out. Let us know that you want to be as a guest, and we will set that up. Our next question is, what makes this podcast worth the time? Adele and I bring a diverse backgrounds and wealth of experience to the mic. If you're looking to create transformation in your life, particularly through running, you'll find immense value in our discussions. Our goal is to deliver practical, inspiring content that makes a real difference.
I think, too, one of the things you can anticipate if you do tune in on a regular basis, we'll have a lot of things about running itself. But one thing that you probably picked up on by now, that if you've listened to us these last few weeks, this is about life, y'all. This is about life skills, life transformation, really finding a purpose and a why, maybe in doing certain things in your life, and giving yourself the encouragement and the intention and the focus. So there'll be a lot more to our podcast than just specific things about running. And I think if you do tune in to Victor's EYM and his YouTube channel, he's got a lot of things about life transformation and running. It's your mission. What is your purpose? How can you achieve it? Sometimes they're little snippets of information. Sometimes it's a little bit more involved conversation. And that's what we're hoping to offer to all of you.
All right. Well, I think we should get right on to our last three questions that we're going to be
Yes.
asking our guests on our episode. And if you want to read the first one, uh,
Okay.
answer it,
We're
that
gonna
would
use okay. We're gonna use these with if we any guests that we have, and we'll use them with each other too over the weeks. What is one piece of advice or insight you've learned from running or exercise that has transformed your life? It's a good one, huh?
yeah, that is a good one. And I think mine is learning to pace myself because that one I've seems like um, it's played a role in not just running, but in other areas of life, wanting my ego to get in the way and just because I love running fast. And when you get into the long distance, you have to pace yourself or you're not going to make it. And it's so easy to go too fast
Okay. Okay.
and then blow up. So yeah, yeah. And it plays out in so many areas. It's like, hey, take your time. When they use marathon as a metaphor for life, it's
Mhm.
true. I find that true. That life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And anything that I've rushed into hasn't turned out as well as the things that I've taken my time and ease into it.
And I tell you what, that's a great answer to that question. And I want to, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to just piggyback a little bit on Victor because of what I mentioned before and why I run, my inspiration and my reasons and the sanity that I achieve from it. But one of the biggest things when Victor mentioned pace, that came back to me a lot in the last week. As I mentioned with the surgery, I haven't been able to really run and take the impact on my leg. I've even noticed that in trying to do some different exercises in my workouts that I try to do several times a week. Um, that's what I have learned. I've learned that all of the wonderful achievements when I was goal oriented and able to train and run to achieve those goals fast, endurance, distance, marathon, whatever, I have learned modify, appreciate what I used to be able to do, go for what I can still do, and look forward to what my future in running and fitness and health is holding for me. So those are some of the things I've learned from running.
Nice. Now, our next question out of the three is if you could inspire our listeners to make one small change today that leads to personal transformation, what would it be?
You want me to go first on this one? I'll go first on this one. I
Go
think
ahead.
I just kind of talked about that a little bit. One small change would be look within yourself and really validate who you are. You are a runner, not just a runner. I am a runner. Total validation. That's one key I would give to everybody.
That's a good one. That is a real good one. Finding your inner self is a very good one. I'm going to say something that I've been doing lately is communicating with my past self and my future self.
That's a good
It's
one.
kind of the same thing, but done it in a specific way. And I think that it's definitely making a big change in my behavior and in my motivation. And just, I really love that. Um, when I do my runs, I find my inner child that
Mm,
say it's talking to me. It's telling me things
mm.
about my past and either appreciating who I've become or guiding me. And same thing with my future self is just thanking me for the things that I'm doing right and looking out after the three of us. I hope
Exactly.
I'm too woo woo.
Exactly. I think that's amazing. That's a great answer. I love that answer. That's going to be a good one to share. All right, we got one more. The last one, and I'll let Victor answer first. What does running your best life mean to you?
Enjoying the journey. As
Mm,
cliche as it sounds, it's easy to forget to enjoy the journey or to focus on the end prize because a lot of times I think I was like that when I was first running. It was like, it was about getting my time, I was getting my medal, and I was
mhm.
going to, and that was it. I'm just focusing on a certain outcome and not taking the time to smell the roses, not taking the time to really enjoy, even though I did enjoy it, but I think I missed out on a lot of the little things because I
Mm.
was focused on the outcome.
I think that's a great point because most of us get into something and we're very goal oriented. And we want to achieve it at our highest level, whatever our capabilities are. So I think we all start out that way when we have a goal, say to run a race or our first marathon. And one of the things that running my best life means to me is longevity in my health, and realizing that I can do this forever, even if I'm walking or jogging or riding a bike or swimming. What running has given to me is the longevity of discipline and heart and sanity. And there's a lot of things that go into that, which we'll share over the course of our topics in our podcast. But that longevity at 67 years old and being able to do the things I do, a lot of it is based around the ability to run, both physically, but also the mental and spiritual and emotional parts that came because I was a runner. At that point, a competitive runner. Now I am a runner, but I've modified from competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that concludes our episode of today. That was pretty much a summary of what's to come, why you should tune in, and just look forward to uh, hearing our episodes and having some impact on your running and on your life. So don't forget to subscribe and tune in.
And please send us any suggestions. Victor will put all of our contact information in the description and the show notes. And truly, because we've given you some information on what we're hoping to do with our and accomplish and what we're leading into some topics, any suggestions, please send us your suggestions and feedback. We'd love to hear it. And y'all have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Dell. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Victor. I'll see you soon, my friend.
See you soon.